Hey everyone, thanks for joining Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm looking at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called New York Crisis. It's a new one by Juegorama. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour and a half to play. It is a fully cooperative game where all the players are working together to defeat the scenario they've chosen to go on. In the game itself, the players are going to take on the roles of one or more of the family members that were at the wrong place at the wrong time and are convicted of a crime. So both the New York Police Department and the FBI are trying to track them down. On the other side, the mob is also trying to track them down to tie up any loose ends that they've left. The family is going to be racing around New York City trying to gain items that are going to help them along their way and info tokens that are going to help prove their innocence. And they have to do all this before either there's too much FBI presence or the alert track reaches a certain point based on the scenario they've chosen to go on. If they're not able to get all the evidence that they need in time, they have lost the game. Otherwise, if they are able to get the evidence that they need and prove their innocence by matching whatever the last scenario card says, then they win the game. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of the main features of the game, and I'm also going to show you a sample turn real quick to show you roughly how the game plays. I'm also going to have a link up in the top corner if you'd like to see a playthrough that me and my friends did, playing through the very first scenario. Now this game is also going to have a lot of Easter eggs in it and is going to be themed around a lot of the 1980s movies. So if you're a movie buff, you'll be able to pick out some of those scenarios. The scenario that we're going to be playing doesn't really have some of that. There is a couple of little things in there, but it is not, they're still working on those. So just keep that in mind as you watch. And if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can help channels like mine continue to grow and produce this content. If you want to stay in all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's head to the table. We'll take a look at what this one's all about. First, let's start off by looking at the family members that players can play as. We have the daughter, whose name is Ripley, and she is a hacker. Next, we have the son, who's Nolan, and he is a social media influencer. The father is Doug, and he is a physician. And finally, we have the mother, who is Carolyn, and she works with the military. Each one of the characters are going to have their own special ability that they can trigger by spending a skill token, and those will be listed on the final production cards, though they're not shown here. Finally, at the bottom of each card is going to list the dice that player is going to roll, and there are 4 different colored dice included in the game. We have red dice, which are going to focus more on physical. We have yellow dice that are going to focus on social, and blue dice that are going to focus on mental. Then there's also going to be gray dice that are going to be an equal distribution of all 3 of those symbols. Throughout the game, the players are also going to be moving around the map, collecting item tokens that are going to help them each one of their turns, such as bicycles and laptops, pistols, and drones, which will each have its own special ability that the player will be able to use during its turn. Players are also going to be moving around the map trying to collect info tokens, which are going to help prove their innocence. We have the physical, social, and mental info tokens. Before the players set up, they're going to choose one of the scenarios that they want to play for this game, and each scenario is going to have a number of cards along with it. The players are going to reveal the 0 card, which is going to give them the backstory for the scenario they're playing. It's going to list a number of info tokens they're going to place in the bag that they'll blindly draw from throughout the game, as well as other setup instructions. And it's also going to list the police cars, where you're going to place those on the alert track, and where the last one will go, and the game over result if the alert token reaches that spot on the alert track. As the game goes on and the players gain info tokens, once they reach certain thresholds where these cards are going to be, they're going to flip them over and resolve them. So the first time the info tokens reach 5, they're going to flip that over and then resolve the effects of this, giving them more backstory to their particular scenario they're playing, additional info tokens they're going to place in the bag, and other effects that they're going to have to resolve during their turns or whatnot. And this is going to continue until they reach the last card, which will give them their final results that they need to do or tests that they need to complete in order to win the game. The final thing I want to show you is a sample round. First off, all the materials you see here are prototype materials and are subject to change. It will look a lot better in the final production copy. With that out of the way, each round is broken down into 2 phases. The first phase is the police phase, where you're going to go and pick up all the police cars in New York City, not those ones on the alert track. And at the start of the game, it'll tell you how many to start with. For my scenario, I'm going to start with 2 police cars, and so I'm going to reveal a police card for each car that I have currently. So I'll have 2. Each one of these cards is going to list where to place the police car, and the top card is also going to have an event that you'll resolve. So I'm going to have one in the financial district and one in Midtown West. Then I'm going to resolve the event, and this one says that I turn one police car of your choice into a Mafia for this round. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the Midtown West and change that out for a Mafia. Then I'm going to go ahead and place these off to the side, as you might have to reference them later in the round depending upon the event that you have. Next, it's going to move into the player phase, and during this phase, the players can activate in any order they choose. This is a cooperative game, so you want to communicate with each other and plan out who is best to go in what order. So for this round, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the mother to go first, and so she is going to start off by grabbing and drawing the top Mafia card and resolving the effects on that. Each Mafia card is broken down into 3 sections. The top one is going to tell you where to place a Mafia token or figure, so this one's going to go in East Village. Next, the middle section is going to show you where to place your drawn info token from the bag. So we have the Lower East Side, and the bottom spot is going to tell you where to place an item. Some of these sections will be grayed out on some cards, and so you simply won't carry out the effects of the grayed out areas. From there, then it'll move into her turn, so she's going to gather her dice pool. So she's going to get 2 red dice, 1 yellow, 1 blue, and then based on the number of family members in your space, you get to roll additional gray die up to a maximum of 2. And since all of the family members are in there, I'm going to get those extra 2 dice. Next, I'm going to roll them, and then I can carry out my actions. Each player gets 2 actions that they can use during their turn. Those actions are to move up to 2 spaces and to also re-roll your dice. You can re-roll all of the dice, even dice you've already used during your turn. So it's very, very important how you plan this out, as it is going to give you a lot of additional things that you can do. Then you can interrupt these actions to carry out different things with your dice, being able to pick up item tokens, info tokens, fighting off the Mafia, and a number of other things based on the scenario you're playing. So from there, I've rolled my dice, and I'm going to go ahead and do my first action. I'm going to go ahead and move. So before I move, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this item here. So I'm going to spend 2 brains, as I have to spend 2 identical items in order to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. And I have a disguise, so this is going to give me +1 social results. Next, I'm going to go ahead and move. So I'm going to move here, and I'm going to use these 2 fists in order to fight off that Mafia and defeat him. Then I will continue my move, moving down, as I can move up to 2 spaces for 1 action. And then I'm going to re-roll my dice as my second action. So I'm going to re-roll this one and these 2. I don't get to roll these again, as I'm not in the same space as the family, unless that was in there, in which case then I would get to re-roll those, or if I didn't use them yet. Okay, so I picked up the second brain that I needed to be able to pick up this info token. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll get to raise the info track 1 space, and then this token will be returned to the supply. Now, if I had any other tokens in there or anything else that I could do with the remaining dice, is I still had 2 social results, so if I had something else I could do with those, I can go ahead and do that at that point. I do not, so that is the end of her turn, so that we move on to the next player that we want to activate. So I'll go with the daughter, who is the hacker, and she's going to go ahead and do that again. So we have another card. We have Lower East Side this time. Then we have the Garment District for the item, or the info token, and that's here. And then finally we have Morningside Heights for an item. Now, one important thing to note with this is that you cannot place Mafia tokens in the places with the police cars, and players cannot move into locations with police cars or FBI tokens. And if during the time when you deploy a police car, if it goes into a space with Mafia, that Mafia token is going to be removed, and the alert token is going to move up on the alert track. So from there, then we've resolved that, so it is going to move into my hacker's turn. So she's going to get 2 blue dice. She'll get a red, a yellow, and then she's still going to get those 2 grays, as there's still plenty of family members in there. Okay, so then she rolled a wild, so I can use that as any symbol, but I have to raise the alert track by 1 each time I use a wild token. So I have to be careful how often I use those. From there, I'm going to go ahead and move here, and then I will spend 2 brains. Yes, 2 brains to pick that up. And I have a drone, so that'll be helpful. Next, I'll move down as my second move action. And I'm going to go ahead and re-roll. I'm going to go ahead and keep this, and I will re-roll the rest of those results. Now again, I get to re-roll this great eye as I had not used it yet for her. Okay, so then I'm going to spend the 2 fists to pick up this info token, raising that track again. I'm going to spend these 2 socials to pick this up, which I have cash. I can bribe the Mafia to remove one of the Mafia tokens that I'm in the same space with, or I can use it to heal as I take damage. Now, each time I move into a space with Mafia, if I am in there and I cannot resolve with that by spending fists to defeat them, or I can spend a social to be able to negate them, or I can spend one of the fists to dodge them if I don't carry out all of them. So if I would have moved in here, I would have to resolve both of them. If I am unable to, then I'm going to take a wound for each Mafia that's in there that I have not been able to take care of or resolve. And if a player has 3 wounds on them, then they're going to be knocked out and they won't be able to come back in until somebody heals them. So it's going to be very important to make sure that you don't get stuck into spaces with Mafia that you don't or can't handle. So that'll finish off her turn. So we just have the 2 guys left. So let's go with the social media influencer. So he's going to go ahead and draw. He just has an info token to place in Gramsci. And then we have Chinatown for an item. Okay, then it'll move into his turn, so he's going to get his 2 social. He'll get 1 red and 1 blue, and then only 1 gray dice, as there's only 1 other family member in there. Okay. From there, I will move into this space here. And I'm going to go ahead and spend that wild as my second brain to pick up this token and raise that track again. And then I'm going to use the subway station to move down here. I'll spend my 2 to pick up that token there. And then I'm going to spend my last action I'm going to move again into Little Italy. So that was all my actions with him. And then my final player is the Doctor. So again, I have to draw a card. I'll have a Mafia person down in there. And the other important thing to point out is that if you ever have to place the 3rd Mafia token in that space, all of them are going to be removed, and you're going to place an FBI token there instead. So you have to make sure that you keep an eye on the amount of Mafia tokens that are out there, as they can definitely overwhelm you. And if you ever have to place a FBI token and there are none left, then the game is over and the players have lost. Next, we have a token down in the financial district. And then it is on to the Doctor's turn, so he's going to get his 4 dice, and he doesn't get any gray dice as he is not in the space with family members. Next, I'll go ahead and roll, so I've got 2 and 2. So I'm going to move down here, and I'll spend 2 to defeat that Mafia person. And then I'm going to do my second action. I'll move again, so I'll move here, pick up this item. And then I am going to move 1 more down to Soho. At that point, the round is over, and the players will go ahead and start a new round with the police phase. So I hope you found this video helpful in deciding whether or not you want to back this title on Kickstarter. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you, and are more than happy to answer any questions you have. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and I take into account everything you say to make the best possible videos. Until next time, I'll see you later.